Chapter 17. We are ambushed by a pile of rocks. In case you're wondering, Old York looks absolutely nothing like New York. It looks older. Magnus Chase, master of description. You're welcome. Halfborn wasn't thrilled to be back at his old base camp. No self-respecting Viking city should be so far from the sea, he grumbled. I don't know why Ivar the Boneless even bothered with this place. We wasted all morning sailing here, about 25 miles up the River Ouse. The River Ouse? I asked. Ouse, TJ corrected, breaking into a grin. It rhymes with moose. Oh, moose. Okay. I read about it in a travel guide. I shuddered. Nothing good rhymes with moose. Excuse, noose, caboose. I also found it disturbing that TJ had done so much research on England. Then again, 150 years is a long time to hang around Valhalla, and the hotel library is impressive. I glanced over at the port side. Murky green water curled and swelled around our hull. The rain stifled the surface of the water with overlapping bull's eyes. The current seemed too alive, too awake. No wonder. No matter how much Percy Jackson had trained me, I did not want to fall in there. You sense them, don't you? Halfborn gripped his axe, as if ready to cut loose on the ouse. The Vatnanavir. Whoa. Vatnaetir. Halfborn said the word as if he found it truly awful, like cowardice or beard trimmer. What are they? I asked. And do they have a more pronounceable name? Alex added. They're nature spirits, Mallory said. We have similar legends in Ireland. We call them each use, water horses. Halfborn snorted. You Irish have similar legends because you got them from the Norse. Lies, Mallory growled. The Celts were in Ireland long before you louts invaded. Louts? The Viking kingdom of Dublin was the only power worth mentioning on your miserable island. Anyway, Simra stepped between the two lovebirds. Why are these water horses dangerous? Halfborn frowned. Well, they can form a herd, and, if they get riled up, stampede and destroy our ship. I imagine they've only held off this long because they're not sure what to make of it being bright yellow. Also, if anyone is foolish enough to touch them, they'll adhere to your skin, Mallory said, drag you under, and drown you. Her words made my stomach clench. I'd once gotten myself adhered to a magical eagle that proceeded to take me on a demolition derby tour of the rooftops of Boston. The idea of being dragged into the ouse sounded even less fun. Alex threw her arms around Mallory and Halfborn. Well then, sounds like you two are water horse experts. You should stay on board and defend the big banana while the rest of us go giant hunting. I said, you can't just turn the ship into a handkerchief. I can. No, Halfborn said. I have no desire to set foot in Jorvik again. I wouldn't be of any use to you anyway. Place has changed a bit in 1200 years. I'll stay on the ship. But I don't need Mallory's help in defending it. You think not? Mallory glared up at him, her hands on the hilts of her knives. Do you know any Gaelic songs for calming water horses? I'm not leaving this ship in your care. Well, I'm not leaving it in your care. Guys, Simra raised her hands like a boxing referee. She'd never been much of a curser, but I got the sense she was struggling with the Ramadan no-cursing rule again. Funny how that works. As soon as you're told you can't do something, you have the overwhelming desire to do it. If both of you insist on staying aboard, she said, I'll stay too. I'm good with horses. I can fly if I get in trouble, and in a pinch. She flicked her wrist, telescoping her spear of light into existence. I can blast anything that attacks us. Or I can blast the two of you if you don't behave. Halfborn and Mallory looked equally unhappy about that arrangement, which meant it was a good compromise. You heard the lady, Alex said. The landing party will consist of me, TJ, and Blonde Guy. Excellent. TJ rubbed his hands. I can't wait to thank the British. TJ wasn't kidding. As we walked the narrow streets of York, in a cold drizzle, he greeted everyone he saw and tried to shake hands. Hello, he said. I'm from Boston. Thank you for not supporting the Confederacy. The reactions of the locals ranged from, to leave off, to some phrases so colorful I wondered if the speakers had descended from Halfborn Gunderson. TJ wasn't deterred. He strolled along, waving and pointing. Anything you guys need, he offered. I owe you. He grinned at me. I love this place. People are so friendly. Uh-huh. I scanned the low rooftops, figuring that if there was a giant in this city, I should be able to spot him. So if you were a Jotun in York, where would you be hiding? Alex stopped in front of a collection of street signs, with her green hair sticking out of her hood of her yellow raincoat. She looked like a punk spokesperson for frozen fish sticks. Maybe we should start here, she pointed at the top sign. The Jorvik Viking Center. It sounded as good of a plan as any, especially since we had no other plans. We followed the signs, winding our way through narrow, crooked streets lined with brick townhouses, pubs, and storefronts. It could have been the north end of Boston, except York was even more historic, had even more historical patchwork. Victorian brick butted up against medieval stone, which butted up against black and white Elizabethan magpie, which butted up against a tanning salon, offering 20 minutes for £5. We passed only a few people. Traffic was light. I wondered if it was a holiday, or if the locals had heard about the bright yellow Viking ship invading the Ouse and run for the hills. I decided it was just as well. If there had been more English folk to meet and greet, TJ would have really slowed us down. We made our way down a street called the Shambles, which struck me as an honest description, but poor branding. The road itself was just wide enough for a bicycle, assuming the rider was skinny. The houses overhung the sidewalk at fun house mirror angles, each story a little wider than the one below it, giving the impression that the entire neighborhood would collapse in on itself if we took one wrong step. I barely breathed until we emerged onto a wider avenue. Finally, the signs led us to a pedestrian shopping area, where a squat brick building was festooned with green banners. Vikings, living history, thrills, full interactive experience. All of which sounded pretty good, except for the sign across the front entrance. Closed. TJ rattled the door handle. Should we break in? I didn't see what good that would do. The place is obviously a museum for tourists. No matter how good this interactive experience was, it would be a letdown after actually living in Valhalla. I didn't need any Viking paraphernalia from the gift shop either. My runestone pendant talking sword was as much as I could handle. Guys, Alex said, her voice tight. Did that wall just move? I followed her gaze. Across the pedestrian plaza, jutting from the side of a Tesco Express grocery store, was a crumbling section of rough-hewn limestone blocks that might have been part of a castle or the old city walls. At least that's what I thought, until the pile of limestone shifted. A few times I had watched Simra emerge from beneath her camouflage hijab. It would look like she had stepped out of a tree trunk or a plain white wall or the display case at a Dunkin' Donuts. This sight gave me a similar kind of vertigo. My mind had to reprocess what I was looking at. Not a section of ruined wall, but a giant, 20 feet tall, whose appearance perfectly mimicked limestone. His rough brown and beige skin was beaded like a Gila monster's. A flocking of rubble crusted his long, shaggy hair and beard. He wore a tunic and leggings of quilted heavy canvas, giving him that fortress wall look. Why'd he'd been leaning against the grocery store, I had no idea. Dozing? Panhandling? Did giants panhandle? He fixed us with his amber eyes, the only part of him that seemed truly alive. Well, well, rumbled the giant. I've been waiting ages for Vikings to appear at the Viking Center. Can't wait to kill you. Good idea, Alex, I squeaked. Let's follow the signs to the Viking Center. Yay. For once, she had no scathing comeback. She stared at the giant, her mouth hanging open, her raincoat hood slipping back from her head. TJ's rifle quivered in his hands like a dowsing rod. I didn't feel much braver. Sure, I'd seen taller giants. I'd seen eagle giants, fire giants, drunk giants, and giants in gaudy bowling shirts, but I'd never had a stone giant appear right in front of me and cheerfully offer to kill me. Standing upright, his shoulders were level with the 2-story rooftops around us. The few pedestrians on the streets simply walked around him as if he were an inconvenient construction project. He grabbed the nearest telephone pole and yanked it out of the ground, along with a large circular chunk of pavement. Only when he rested the pole across his shoulder did I realize it was a weapon. A maul with a head the size of a hot tub. Vikings used to be more social, he rumbled. I thought surely they'd come to their community center for trials by combat, or at least for bingo. But you're the first ones I've seen, and... He tilted his shaggy head, a gesture that looked like an avalanche of sheepdogs. How long was I sitting there? I must have dozed off. Well, tell me your names, warriors. I would like to know who I am killing. At that point I would have screamed, I claim guest rights! But sadly, we were not in a giant's home. I doubted guest rights would apply on a public street in a human city. Are you the giant Hergnir? I asked, hoping I sounded more confident than panic-stricken. I'm Magnus Chase. This is Thomas Jefferson Jr. and Alex Fierro. We're here to bargain with you. The shaggy stone colossus looked from side to side. Of course I'm hungrier. Do you see any other giants around? I'm afraid killing you is non-negotiable, little Einergy. But we can haggle about the details if you like. I gulped. How did you know we're Einerjar? Hungrier grinned, his teeth like crenellations of a castle turret. You smell like Einerjar. Now come, what were you hoping to bargain for? A quick death? A death by squeezing? Perhaps a lovely death by stomping, followed by being scraped off the bottom of my shoe. I glanced at TJ, who shook his head vigorously like, not the shoe. Alex still hadn't moved. I only knew she was still alive because she blinked the rain out of her eyes. O large and beige Hungriger, I said, we seek the location of Kvasir's mead. Hungriger scowled, his rocky eyebrows furrowing, his brick-like lips forming a segmental arch. Well, well, playing Odin's thievery game, are you? The old bulwark trick? Maybe. Hungriger chuckled. I could give that information. I was with Baugi and Sutug when they sequestered the mead in its new hiding place. Right. I silently added Baugi and Sutug to my mental list of things I'm clueless about. That's what we have come to bargain for, the location of the mead. I realized I'd already said that. What is your price, O beige one? Hungriger stroked his beard, causing rubble and dust to sift down the front of his tunic. For me to consider such a trade, your deaths would have to be very entertaining. He studied TJ, then me. His eyes came to rest on Alex Fierro. Ah, this one smells of clay. You have the necessary skills, do you not? I glanced at Alex. Necessary skills? Eep, Alex said. Excellent, Hungriger boomed. It's been centuries since the stone giants found a worthy opponent for a traditional 2-on-2 duel, a fight to the death. Shall we say tomorrow at dawn? Whoa, I said. Couldn't we do a healing contest? Or bingo? TJ offered. Bingo is good. No, Hungriger cried. My very name means brawler, little Einergy. You won't cheat me out of a good fight. We will follow the ancient rules of combat. Me versus... I didn't want to volunteer, but I'd seen Jack take down bigger giants than this guy before. I raised my hand. Very well, No, you're too scrawny. Hungriger pointed to TJ. I challenge him. I accept, TJ yelled. Then he blinked as if thinking, thanks a lot, Dad. Good, good, the giant said, and my second will fight your second, who will be made by her. Alex staggered back as if she'd been pushed. I can't. I've never... Or I can just kill the three of you now, Hungriger said. Then you have no chance at finding Kvasir's mead. My mouth felt as dusty as the giant's beard. Alex, what's he talking about? What are you supposed to make? By the trapped look in her eyes, I could tell she understood Hungringer's demand. I'd only seen her this panicked once before, on her first day in Valhalla, when she thought she might be stuck in one gender for the rest of eternity. She licked her lips. All right, I'll do it. That's the spirit, Hungriger said. As for the little blonde guy, I guess he can be your water boy or something. Well, I'm off to make my second. You should do the same. I will meet you tomorrow at dawn, at Kongersdurtha. The giant turned and strode through the streets of York, pedestrians moving out of the way as if he were a veering bus. I turned to Alex. Explain. What did you just agree to? The contrast between her heterochromatic eyes seemed even greater than usual, as if the gold and the brown were separating, pooling to the left and right. We need to find a pottery studio, she said. Fast.